guys, welcome back to Beyond Studio Pilates. Today I want to take you through a simple beginner's setup. So this is just how to set yourself up ready for your Pilates session. Let's get going. So we're going to start on our backs and we're going to start by looking at our setup. So in Pilates we really focus on our core muscles, but the whole body is kind of taken into consideration as well. But I want to think about your core setup right now. So thinking about our neutral spine, you're going to bring your feet so they're hip distance apart, knees are in line with your feet and your hips. Next we're going to think about that pelvis. So I want you to just rock your pelvis backwards and forwards. And then I want you to bring it to a standstill where you feel like your tailbone is pointing off towards the back wall. Once you've done that, you should be able to just get your hand underneath the small of your back, and there should be a little gap there. So what we're doing here is setting up our neutral spine. So your spine has looks a bit like an S roughly, and we want to keep that natural S curve. So there should be a little gap under your low back and a little gap underneath your neck. We're going to keep those there. If you need to, just pop a cushion under your head if it's more comfortable. Next, I want to think about those pelvic floor muscles. So your pelvic floor is a sling of muscles holding everything in. And we're going to think about them a little bit like a lift. So I want you to imagine that you're getting in a lift and then you're drawing that lift up to the 10th floor, and you're going to hold it there for me. So feel that internal squeeze. And then you're just going to slowly release it off. Then again, you're going to bring it up to that 10th floor. So feel that internal squeeze. And then this time you're just going to slowly, with control, let it off a little bit, but keep hold of it gently as well. Thinking about that core next. So TVA, transverse abdominis, this is a big belt-like muscle. And that's the one we're going to set up first. So I want you to imagine that you're drawing your belly button towards your spine. Try and pull it to as close as to your spine as you can get it, holding it there. And then I just want you to let it off. And then again, I want you to think about pulling your belly button towards your spine, holding it there. And then slowly just letting it off. And final time, pulling your belly button towards your spine, holding it there. And then this time with control, I want you to slowly let it off until you feel like you've got a bit of contraction there, but it's not so tight that you feel like you can't breathe. Holding it there, you're then going to pull your ribs down towards your hips. Think about just gently relaxing through your shoulders, and we're in our neutral spine position. From here, we're going to take an inhale, thinking about breathing through your rib cage. So keeping hold of that core, you're going to inflate through those lungs, feel that rib cage expand, and then exhale, feel that rib cage come back together. So we're going to take another inhale, feel that rib cage open, then exhale, feel it close back down. One more time like this. So inhale and then exhale. Okay, this time we're going to inhale, keep hold of that core, and we're going to bring one leg into what we call our tabletop position. So your knee is over your hip, shin is parallel with the ceiling or sky, depending if you're outside or not. Then from here, we're going to move that leg, thinking about the movement coming from your hip. So we're going to take another inhale to prepare. Cores engaged, we're going to exhale and move that leg back to the floor, moving from your hip. From here, we're going to inhale, and then you're going to exhale, core engaged, bring that leg back to your tabletop. Taking an inhale here, and then you're going to exhale, slowly move it back to the mat. Taking an inhale, and then exhale, slowly bring the other leg up into the tabletop. Taking an inhale here, and then exhale, slowly moving it back to the floor. Going to do that leg again. So inhale, hold, exhale, move. Knee comes to over your hip, shins parallel with the ceiling, core stays engaged. Inhale here, and then exhale, slowly moving that leg back to the floor. Going to do one more on each side. So lifting on your exhale, holding, moving from your hip. Think belly button to spine as you do. Taking that foot back to the floor and then lifting through your other leg, holding it for an inhale. Think thoracic breathing, so feel that rib cage expand as you breathe, and then exhale, feel that rib cage close down as you release. Taking a full body stretch, and then you're going to come back into that neutral position that we just found, and you're going to bring your arms into the air. Going to add our arms and legs together now. So you're going to think about your opposite arm and leg moving as a pair. Core engaged, draw that belly button towards your spine, scoop up those pelvic floor muscles for me, and then on the exhale you're going to slowly take your opposite arm and leg out to the side. Hold it here. Your hip stays on the floor, so make sure you haven't rolled towards your leg, and your opposite knee hasn't opened to compensate for that leg moving away. Hold it for an inhale, and then exhale. Back to the middle. Hold in the middle for an inhale, and exhale. Other side. Hold it for an inhale, and then exhale. Slowly bring it back to the middle. Keep thinking belly button to spine. Make sure you haven't flattened your back, so keep that pelvis in that neutral position. Holding for an inhale, and then exhale slowly, moving that arm and leg back to the middle, so they're moving as a pair. Make sure your hips stay grounded on the floor, so you're not moving your hips. As that knee goes out, your hips stay nice and still. Think belly button to spine, core engaged. Let's do one more to each side like this. Holding here, then exhale, moving back in. So we're really building strength in that core right now. And back to the middle. Then from here, you're going to bring both legs into your tabletop position. Knees come to over your hips, shins are parallel with the ceiling. And then we're going to think about working through that upper body, so into those shoulders a bit. So we're going to take an inhale, core engaged. Check that little gap is still under your low back. And then you're going to reach one arm towards the ceiling, bring it back. Reach the other arm to the ceiling, bring it back. So we're going to reach and return. Reach and return. If you're finding that this is a little bit challenging on your core, then just take one leg down to the floor. If you want to make it a little bit harder, take one leg out straight, or you could take both legs out to kind of half straight. Holding it here. Keep your spine in its natural S-curve, so make sure you're not flattening off through that back. We've got one more to go. And then from here you're going to bring those knees into your chest. You can flatten off through that back now and just give yourself a little rock and a little hug. And then bring those feet back to the floor, and we're going to do one final exercise, my favorite Pilates exercise. Really good for cyclists, stretches out through those quads, builds strength in those hamstrings and those glutes, and it's super for spinal mobility too. So if you've been on a long ride, getting off your bike and doing this is just going to help to take some of that pressure off your spine from being in that kind of hunched over position. This is going to help to really loosen off through your back. So we're taking an inhale at the bottom, core engaged, and then this time you're going to flatten off through your back and pick your pelvis up off the floor, and slowly through each vertebrae move yourself up so that you're in kind of like a bridge position. Think about making yourself into a slope, so make sure you haven't left your pelvis down at the bottom. Think about bringing it up. Use those glutes to keep your hips lifted. From here we're going to take an inhale, core engaged. Exhale, you're going to slowly, one vertebrae at a time, return back to the floor. So it's a nice slow controlled process. You're keeping your pelvis up for as long as you can. Back down to the floor. Rolling into your neutral, you're going to take an inhale, and then you're going to exhale. Again, tilting that pelvis, rolling yourself back up into your bridge, holding at the top. Now you might find that this is enough, but if you want to, we're going to add in some little pulses. So we're just going to go a bit higher for 5, 4, so we're working into those glutes a little bit harder now, 3, and final 2, and final 1, holding it here for an inhale, and exhale, core engaged, slowly back down to the mat. We're going to do one more. This time we're going to add in an arm lift. So we're taking an inhale at the bottom, exhale, tilting that pelvis, rolling up into your bridge, holding it here. You're going to bring your arms up and then bring them behind your head. Now if you've got a shoulder injury, just leave the arms down where they were. Make sure you now haven't dropped through your pelvis, so think about lifting those hips towards the ceiling. Hold it here for an inhale and then exhale. Slowly, with control, bringing yourself back down to the mat, lifting that pelvis, keeping that pelvis lifted for as long as you can, and then slowly into your neutral, and then bringing your arms back down. From here, we're going to move on to our final stretch. So you're going to take your right leg out long, bring your left leg up, and then just guide your left leg over to the right hand side of your body, holding it here for me. And then bringing that leg back up, taking that leg out long, bringing the other leg up, and then guiding it over to the left hand side of your body, holding it there for me. And then bringing that leg back and then giving yourself a full body stretch. And then coming back up to sitting.